When your fans care more than you must be watching V'ger Please. I'm Joseph.
I'm your co-host, Peter.
This is a lovely little Patreon content that we produce now and then where we take a look at a piece of Trek media that's not one of the shows that we like to review, but maybe it's a movie. Maybe it's a movie that's not related to Trek but has like Trek people in it or related to it or is just a good time. But this time we're taking a look at a very interesting fan work, which we have only ever done once before, but I think this might be one of the more complete and interesting fan works in existence. What did we review, Peter?
It's a whole spread here, man. We are going to be primarily looking at JTVFX, and that's V as in Victor, The Wolf 359, The Massacre, Part 1 and Part 2. And that is a collection of media types because you've got some actual TV show bits and bobs from Best of Both Worlds and The Emissary.
Correct.
You've got a lot of fan-made CGI content for ship battles, and then it looks like we've got some weird web series, YouTube, other fan content that has like, costume up dudes on bridges and a live action component.
It is a tremendous undertaking that someone, who can't monetize this stuff. That's the weird part about existing in the Trek fandom universe is that you kind of have the license to do things, but you can't ever make anything off of it. To spend the time, effort, and energy that this gentleman did to create what is essentially, I would say, a full episode worth of material between the two Prelude episodes and the two Massacre episodes. It's about like 45-ish minutes.
I didn't watch the Preludes. Did you?
I did. The Preludes are great for starship porn. And like setting the stage of everything coming together, building tension. I would recommend going back and seeing them. They're not the focus, obviously. It's a lot of, little bits and then the episode stuff from Best of Both Worlds. We both watched Best of Both Worlds Part 1 completely, and Part 2, I think, in abbreviated form as part of like bracketing watching this. But the whole point of it is that the Battle of Wolf 359 is the fulcrum on which everything in Berman Trek turns. It is the most important thing that happens in the entirety of Trek continuity as we have experienced it.
It's the OG Space 911.
It is. It's the OG Space 911, and it's also the origin point of Starfleet going through its metamorphosis into being something resembling a military force again, which is where that reverberates through the story, through the rest of TNG, most certainly into Deep Space Nine, and then obviously with the Borg being a huge part of Voyager as well, where they get shaken out of their complacence and understand that there's deep, dark things in the galaxy, just like you warned them, that are coming to kill them, and they better be ready for it. And you can almost break down Trek for everything that happened before Wolf 359 and then everything that happened after and is colored by it. And not
I want to
just
go further, because it does but it does color all of Berman era Trek. And I think it colors the best parts of new Trek in terms of Lower Decks. And, some real key points out of Picard season 1.
And obviously Picard season 3 as well.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
My goal for this thing is to not just sit here and completely rehash our grievances with Voyager and ultimately the incredible disservice that they did to the Borg. Because boy, if this wasn't a great refresher in why the Borg are one of the best sci-fi villains of all time.
Yes, absolutely. This is the Borg, not the Morgue, as we called them at the time in our Voyager episodes. And I agree, we should not spend too much time rehashing those grievances because this is a guy who gets it, right? This is a guy who made this, who understands what we understand, which is, this needs to be the most frightening, life-threatening thing that's ever happened to the Federation. And you get that sense of it pretty clearly, even though it's a very clearly amateur fan work.
Do you think these guys, I don't think he was ever doing this for personal gain, but do you think people who do this stuff end up getting recruited into like VFX studios forgetting it, or do you think that there's enough people that are good at CGI work that this just kind of gets glazed over?
I know that it does happen. There's a very famous example of it. Have you ever heard of Astartes?
Yeah.
So that guy that was a fan work of 40K. That guy was just a dude who did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so well received. He got hired by Games Workshop to work on their streaming platform to make CG shows in the Warhammer 40K universe, and also worked on the secret level episode that was the focused on Space Marine 2.
Hmm.
And it very much feels like he did it. Like it has the exact
I
same
didn't
visceral
watch
feel
any of
to it.
that stuff. Was any of it good?
Honestly, only the Space Marine 2 episode was that good. Yeah, like I watched the Mega Man thing and it was just very short. It was like 3 minutes. It was very disappointing that it was as short as it was. And then the rest of it wasn't particularly interesting to me. But that episode by itself, if you've got Prime, it's free. Go ahead and watch it, right? Like, but I would skip the rest of it. But so that happened with that guy. He got hired.
I do think it's cool, whatever their agreement is with Paramount, that they are able to take long format clips, chunks of these shows and incorporate it in, and not get like DNC or whatever it is, the copyright strike takedowns.
Yeah, I think it's a compromise that makes sense from a business perspective. They want fan works because it does promote the brand, but they don't want anyone profiting from it. They have to defend their economic interest. I know that's where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so guys like JTVFX are a net benefit to Paramount.
Absolutely.
But it's a shame that what's a shame is that he obviously cares more than the people who are presently making Star Trek. I mean, another grievance that I hope to put aside for a moment, like
that all goes without saying. And
yeah.
And the other thing that's going to have to go without saying as we get into this conversation, why is there no on-screen, like, real big depiction of Wolf 359? Because it's expensive, man. You go back into 1990, which is when Best of Both Worlds happened, 90 and I think 91, as they get into season 4. It was expensive as hell. And you can have now in 2022, right? 2023 maybe. Someone sitting in their basement cranking out Hollywood level CG for the time. I really thought the way he captured the feel of physical model ships in the second one was crazy good. Like, you could see how much his own talent came along between the two of these. But
yeah, like this project started 2 years ago, 3-ish years ago with the first prelude, and then finished just a month ago with Massacre Part 2. And I completely agree. His actual talent improved significantly. Also, AI tools improved significantly for like the voiceover stuff, which this is a circumstance where the use of AI makes total sense, right? Like, you've got no money. You've got nothing to work with but your own sweat, blood, and tears. You don't have time and energy to go out and find voice actors.
Collaborating is hard.
So what do? Okay, well, I'm not making any money off of this anyway, so I'll go ahead and just use AI for the voiceover to complete the picture I'm trying to complete. Totally get it. Like that. This is where like that sort of thing doesn't bother me in the slightest. And the second part, which is 30 minutes all on its own, right? Like it's a fucking big project for just that part. The sophistication of the effects he was able to pull down was incredible. The way he scripted it too was really something else. Like I don't want to undersell that. He creates a process where he integrates the clips, like you said. He tells the story in a way that satisfies every canon detail we know about Wolf 359. You've got every ship that we knew was there, every based on the debris field from Best of Both Worlds or has been mentioned in dialogue in other series. Everyone that was there that we meet later in Voyager is specifically called out here, both Federation citizens and Klingon citizens. You satisfy for canon details that were messed up, like the fact there's 2 USS Melbournes there. So they go out of their way to explain why that's the case, that there was about to be a christening of a new USS Melbourne, which was the ship that Riker was supposed to get, replacing Excelsior Class 1. And I think my favorite detail, Peter, is the expression of the visual design of the ships themselves from the eras that each are from, because you've got TOS era ships that look angular and hard, like Miranda and even a Constitution class ship.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Lost Era ships like the
Constellation.
Ambassadors that are like more rounded and kind of bubble like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got the TNG era ships like the Nebula and the Galaxy that look more intricate and more advanced. And he manages to capture all of that on screen uh, consistently through all of the work that he did. I mean, it's excellent.
I'll tell you what else is excellent is Best of Both Worlds Part 1.
Yes.
And going back to watch that, we've dipped into TNG a few times now during our Deep Space Nine adventures.
Yeah, we
Always
watched
a
a bunch
joy
of
to go
episodes
back
to get
and-
ready for it, and then we
Yeah.
watched Redemption Part 1, I think, yeah.
What a
Because it takes place on
fucking
Deep Space
banger to
Nine.
come back in on this thing. Like, I forgot how much I love this episode, and I think my favorite part about it is just the completely different tone that the episode has just right off the rip. It comes
Yeah.
in with that sinister synth music. There is this hard urgency through the entire thing and a pacing that just doesn't happen in Next Gen. And it almost feels like you're watching a horror movie.
You're watching a whole different show when you're watching this episode. I was struck by it, and if anything has convinced me that we do need to do TNG after we're done with Deep Space Nine, was actually kind of going back and doing this, because I think there's a lot to talk about. But it feels like a horror movie. It feels like a much harder, like grounded drama. We've
Yeah.
spent so much time with Riker's career
I
stuff.
mean, I completely forgot about all that, and it was so good.
It was.
Because when you think about Next Gen, and it's probably why Voyager fell into the pit trap it did, like, there's not huge character arcs that people are going through. Like, certainly Data and Picard, but characters like Riker and LaForge, um, stuff happens, but like,
They're kind of the same. Yeah.
it's not egregious and it's not offensive, because they do have some sort of progress. But like, I completely forgot about the Riker needs to leave the nest, and the fact that you've got essentially this B plot that's laid on top of this huge turning point for the whole show, and like how great it plays into the main dilemma, which is like, the captain is gone. He is doing terrible things. Are we willing to kill Jean-Luc Picard? And all that, like, and then Shelby in there, like, just a masterclass episode. And it's crazy that came out of, season 3 or whatever.
The tension with Shelby is so fucking good. Like, I really forgot how good it was, where they held out a command chair for a Nebula class ship for Riker. He wasn't just going to get, some 2-bit Miranda class command, right?
Mm-hmm.
They held the chair out for one of the top of the line ships for him to promote into as his first captaincy. That's how much they thought of him as his first
Benjamin
officer.
Maxwell, the big war hero.
He had one of those.
Yeah.
They're going to hold out a chair like that for him. And it's like, this is what you've earned. And he's still saying no. And that's why, like, even Hansen is like, you better fucking convince him to take this, because I don't think they're going to do it again. Right? Like, they're going to get pissed that he's just not taking it. And he's going to wind up in a spot where he's not going to be offered this again. Which is so realistic,
Hansen,
right?
The only admiral I think that we have seen that is not crazy. Or
to date, yes. There is a very good admiral to come for us in Deep Space Nine, the best admiral, the only good admiral, in my opinion. But I guess
Hansen Nechayev, she's not.
Yeah, Nechayev is correct most of the time. She's just miserable.
Listen, that's upper management.
She's a real bitch, is what I'm trying to say.
Everybody they bring in to that episode is fantastic. Hansen's great. Shelby's great. It's also a wonderful look at, like, here is the best of the best. These aren't fucking gas station employees.
No, they say Deep Sheets 9, bro.
And even when these guys aren't happy, they're still the good guys. And like Shelby making plays around Riker and fucking things up. And like, still everybody's eye is very clearly on the prize. There's not petty bickering. There's not sabotaging each other's work. Like, he disciplines her, but I think it all comes off as like very good role model, good guy stuff.
No, I agree. And I also really liked the background detail that was more richly developed in the episode than my memory allowed about. Yeah, so when you guys ran into the Borg a year ago, we clearly started to try to get our act together because that seemed pretty fucked up. But we're still 24 months behind. Like we need years to get our shit together to be able to do anything about what you saw. Which, by the way, when you think about when Battle of Sector 001 happens, which
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk actually a lot about at some point here as we discuss like Trek continuity, like the nerds we are,
Mm-hmm.
and that occurs approximately 4 years after this or 5 years after this. And the difference that time made as it relates to Starfleet actually putting into practice what it is that they've been attempting to do, it
Mm-hmm.
that comes together in a really nice way. But that they come to the table and say like we're kind of fucked. Like that's actually the starting position is we may not be able to do anything about this. And there's this the underlying tension of the episode is the Enterprise is basically a blocking tackle while they desperately assemble as many ships as they possibly can to do something, right? We don't have our technology ready. We haven't built our new ships yet. We only have what we have. And all we're going to do, Enterprise is basically a sacrificial lamb. Just go out there and fuck with them and hold them back for as long as you possibly can while we try to put together what we can put together, right?
I
And
love how they're caught with their pants down too, because nobody knows about transwarp, and they figured that
they
this
had time, right?
Delta
7,000
Quadrant
light years.
encounter,
Oh,
yeah.
we got years. It's fine.
And even with that, like Shelby has a Shelby's praise comes in the form of like, we assembled this task force to start dealing with this thing, and everybody was kind of arguing their own points, and she was the unifier that came and really started cracking the whip around there. Like
Yeah,
she is on this ship right now for a great reason. I want to take this point to talk about the Borg themselves, because this is the second time that we encounter the Borg, I believe,
correct.
in Berman era. The first time they carved a hole in the saucer, which I think is a weapon you get in Voyager Across the Unknown. Is that what I was seeing?
I think so.
Cutting
Yeah,
laser. Um, and they nail the Borg so hard out of the gate. There's what I don't like about the JTVFX stuff is how much of the Queen is there, and she has to be there. I do not like the Borg Queen, and I think it's she was great in First Contact, sure.
yeah,
But I think the real meat and potatoes of the Borg is that it's this impersonal thing. It is technology gone off the rails. And I mean, all the stuff we can sit here about AI and this and that. Um, but the economy of threat is so real. There's only one cube, and one cube is all it takes to basically take Earth out. And
correct.
and that's where Voyager ends up shit in the bed is, there's 400 cubes flying. Like, it's Dragon Ball Z. You've already cut Namek in half or whatever, and now you're just
You
grasping at straws of how to make this crazier. Less is more. And the scene that happens down in engineering, and it's like Shelby and Riker and Data and Wesley and LaForge, and it's like such a great way to build out what the stakes of this are, what the threat level is, and just explicitly explain to the audience, like, none of these ships are going to have any shot in hell.
yeah,
Everybody is going to die.
yeah.
And
And Hansen himself says it. It's underrated what he says in the dialogue after like, okay, the like Enterprise is shot at shot. They delayed him as long as they possibly can. Picard has been kidnapped, and they're back in touch with Hansen and be like, our ship's fucked up. Our secret weapon didn't work. We're repairing. We're gonna try to get there, but I don't think we're gonna make the party. And he's like, listen, we're gonna. Hansen even says either we die or they do. I'm gonna throw everything we got at them. Right? Even the Klingons are showing up. Like we're just gonna go whole ass at them, and if he's either gonna fucking work or it's gonna fucking not. And that's the job, right? Like risk is our business is the quote from Kirk. Like everyone signed up for this, so this is what we're going to have to do. We are the shield that defends the Federation, and we are vastly underprepared for this, but we're going to go ahead and give it the best shot we can. You did great, thanks, Enterprise. Hopefully,
meta
you can make it.
metaplot, this isn't what these guys signed up for. In Kirk's era, they were a military, and because of the actions taken in Undiscovered Country, they were able to wind things down with the Klingons and move into
Institute
a
an era of
position.
peace,
Yeah,
an otherwise heretofore untold era of peace, 100 years of peace.
Yeah, there's guns. Yeah, there were the Cardassian border skirmishes. But all these Starfleet people are scientists. They are people that have signed up to go out and explore. There is an expected level of comfort as you fly about your
Yeah,
Space Holiday and Express cruise liners. And again, the best thing that I can say about Lower Decks and the good parts of New Trek is looking at the deep trauma that these people who grew up in a hippy dippy post scarcity utopia had to come to ugly grips of, like, shit's real out there. Bad stuff's going
yeah,
to happen. And here it is right now. That is the door to this Pandora's box of fuck
yeah.
opening.
This is the moment. And I remember our discussion about Lower Decks, particularly in the character of Beckett Mariner, who's somebody, if you zoom all the way out, is somebody who is grew up at the exact wrong time to be a Starfleet officer. All she knew was violence and death in a way that no Starfleet generation of Starfleet officers before her had to suffer. She had to deal with the Borg, she had to deal with the Dominion, she had to deal with the Cardassians, she had to deal with all the other things that came with the Dominion, and it traumatized her. Like, that is her character arc. She does not want to be promoted. She does not want much responsibility. She does not want to have to be in a position where she has to choose people to die, because she has already seen all of that and she doesn't want it. It's ruined her. And the show ultimately just plays footsie with growing up and then doesn't, which is where I fault it. But it gets really close with that, particularly I think at the end of the fourth season. And uh, we also see it, I think, more keenly though through Cisco. Like, Cisco has this experience and he makes killing people his fucking personality after this, right? Like, he comes away from this trauma and all he does is, like, I'm going to build a fucking kill Borg machine, and then I'm going to get sent to Deep Sheets 9. I'm going to bring it with me. I'm going to turn into a fucking kill Dominion machine, and then the Dominion War is going to break out, and I'm going to be the best killing the Dominion there is. Like,
Mhm.
he radicalizes into, I'm going to be a soldier for the Federation because, my wife died in all of this trauma. And now I know the stakes of these things in a way that nobody else fucking does. And I think if there is a hidden story to tell in Trek still that is hinted on and implied, and that it gets best expressed in Deep Space Nine, but there's more that you could do, would be a story about, the Cassandras who saw this coming, who then have to help, have to turn the ship around, uh, Federation being the ship, to be able to defend itself. To convince a society that is spoiled on things being easy, that sometimes things are going to be hard.
Real hard. I It was interesting watching Best of Both Worlds too, because when they do encounter the Borg, when they intercept the ship, which I can't get on board with their decision to not ditch the saucer. Like, why the fuck are they doing their initial encounter? You know exactly what these guys are, and you're going in full up. Like, that was a real ugly look for Picard on that one. But
Oh,
uh,
and noticeably was not. It was in JTFX's decision to have his Hanson's
Hanson,
Galaxy class ship only go with the star drive.
yeah, man. Um, but like, it gets one cut along the side of the star drive, and I think, like, when when LaForge needlessly rolls under the door.
Yes.
But that was 19 people died just that one swipe. And I can't really think of any other events along Next Generation seasons 1 through season where you see that much life lost on the Enterprise just like that. And, like, what
In
a
one
way to
shot.
start this entire thing off.
Yeah, 11,000 people die. 39 ships are destroyed. Um, I went back and watched some of Picard season 3 with Shaw, especially obviously his confrontation with Picard in the holodeck. And when you think about just how traumatizing surviving this must have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he does a great job going back to the actual JTFX stuff now. The effects or stuff, it's all structured nice. He does a great job with the music to, like, make it feel like you're watching Berman era Trek, that version of Battle of Wolf 359 all throughout. I can't recommend it enough. But to me, the part that he, like, really succeeds at as a narrative choice is it just keeps getting worse, right? Like you see these traumatic things happening to these people. Their ships are being destroyed. Maybe there's a little bit of hope some people survive, and then even a smaller amount of people survive, right? And you watch someone like Shaw, who's like a nobody on the ship. Everyone he knows dies. He's like one of 10 people that have made it off to a lifeboat. And then the Borg start destroying the lifeboats, right, of these ships that were disabled. And he even barely narrowly survives that. And now imagine him being somebody who continues his Starfleet career and then 30 years later, finds the personification of the most traumatic things ever happened in his life, and he gets to yell at him.
Go a little further in this. Any of the survivors who were at Wolf 359, like think of the deep-seated resentment you have, like against Picard and the Enterprise as a whole, and like everybody else fucking dies, and the guy who essentially, and everybody knows he didn't choose to do it, but you can't help but be mad at the guy. Right. But then it's like his ship gets off with like absolutely nothing. The lightest slap on the wrist. 19 people died, and the rest of your ship is basically perfectly fine. Like, fuck you,
fuck you,
you and your plot armor and your main character energy. I just touch on Best of Both Worlds again real quickly. They break out some really cool shit in the episode. Like I loved, maybe it was the second part where it was part 2 when Worf and Data fly off to go do the rescue mission, seeing the star drive in the window of the shuttlecraft, like really inventive stuff and things that you'd never get cool shit like that.
Right, trying to give you perspective, trying to make it feel like it's really happening, right? Like,
yeah,
it's strong considering the amount of time, effort, and energy it took to do that back then.
Yeah,
it was a real deliberate choice. You couldn't just slap that in post.
What a cliffhanger Best of Both Worlds was, and when we do get around to reviewing the full episode, we can talk about how life felt over the summer while you were wondering where things are going to go with that. But the play to blast him with the main deflector, the Kamehameha. Interesting that Riker didn't just ride that thing into a warp core breach and just let everybody die there, because even though everybody signed up to be the scientist, there is a real lack of hesitation on Starfleet, like just the bravery across the board. Everybody like, we're going down with this ship.
Right.
Everything is going to be spent to try and stop these guys. So his choice there, obviously you're not going to kill everybody on the main show or whatever, but I will also say to the credit of all of the actual established Trek media that has hit broadcast, counter to everything we said about why have you not seen this battle on screen in its full entirety. Certainly budget's a part of it, but I also think there's something that we touch on frequently, and it's if you over explain things, there's a high chance you're going to fuck it up, and sometimes talking about it and letting people draw their own conclusions is a good thing to do. And I think for Star Trek, leaving Battle 359 fully off screen was the right move because it opened the door for something like this. And I also want to shout out the other right move is, and please, for the love of God, whoever is listening that might be somewhere near whatever Paramount ends up, which crazy, these studios just getting bought and traded right now, by the way.
I know, right? Like right now I think like Skydance is going to go pick up what was it,
Warner
Brothers next. Like, Jesus. Okay, well, if they didn't shit out so many bad movies, it wouldn't be such an affordable pickup, I guess.
Yeah, well, never explain the origin story of the Borg.
Yeah,
that is
never
my biggest wish for anything Star Trek. Voyager beat the shit out of these guys. Don't ever, because every story that it could be is a great story, and I like not knowing which one it actually is.
It's like, don't tell me the origin of the Joker. Like, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So the real action in the JTFX stuff really picks up kind of after part 1 of Best of Both Worlds, and in that interregnum before they actually arrive at the debris field. That's kind of where it all happens, and it happens fast, right? Like it's not a lengthy battle, and at first it's not even really pressuring the cube. So like in the first half of the battle where Hansen is present, they do the most minimal of damage to the cube while attempting to impact it, and It's only in the second half when the Klingons show up that they actually manage to put some pressure on them. They still all die. Everyone dies, aside from one ship, the Endeavor, and a couple ships that are ultimately salvaged. And they kind of tie up a lot of the plot lines of the people involved by like, okay, this is the one that rescues like Shaw and Cisco and everybody. Like it is the surviving ship so that you can have survivors of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the Enterprise doesn't stick around, right? It's got to keep following the fucking cube to Earth. It's got to try and do something. So you got to solve for that. So you have a survivor ship that, you know, could have been destroyed, but ultimately isn't. I think he plays really nice with like the trauma in Picard's head by like repeating him yelling like he's, you know, in, what was it?
Chain of Command, isn't it?
Chain of Command, where he's being tortured. But he's being tortured mentally by being forced to do this. The presence of the Queen, I think, does work as it's like putting the pressure on him. Also, Q essentially kind of mocking him, but you also think maybe like is preserving him in a certain sense.
Yeah.
You know, he's a trickster spirit. You're not sure what he's up to.
Q's
He's got big plans for John Luke. He wants him to go through this, but he also doesn't want him to be subsumed by it. That's the feel I got.
Q is just always this character that I love him and I hate him. And it's not something that you can just compartmental and say, well, you know what, whatever, we can eat around the Q or not take it, because he's there. He's there in the first episode and he's there in the last episode. Like it's part of it. And I like the idea that maybe he was fortifying Picard a little bit, and it makes what ends up happening with Picard getting saved a little less ridiculous, and you know, retrieving him from the collective. What is the deal? Well, first of all, the presentation of the armada that is intercepting him, the task, that's not a task force, it's just armada. Like, again, you got Mirandas, you got Excelsiors, you got Constellation classes. The Ambassador was a badass ship.
Was.
You got some Nebulas, but like when you're seeing like specifically the Constellations, and that's what the Stargazer class was,
mm-hmm.
and fucking Connies, like, hey, mommy, can we have some new starships? No, we already have starships at home.
Well, it shows the outdated nature of Starfleet, that they allowed themselves to ossify such that they were forced to press into service in a life or death battle. Ships had no business being there. They had nothing to contribute.
And
ships were there to die. Yeah,
that's a tough pill to swallow there too. But what a way to clear out your back inventory. And as you are open that dealer lot wide up for some Akiras and Steam Runners, everybody's still feeling good though, because again, you did, not that any of this was fleshed out at this point, but you did just go through the Cardassian border wars and you came out looking great. You know, no one's willing to really tangle with you. So yeah, you know, the Excelsiors and Miranda's like, they're perfectly fine. We're not at war. These things, you can retrofit them with some great new sensor packs, and
that's all they need. You don't need to worry about their defense capabilities because no one's fighting you.
Especially that deep into interior space, because this thing's beelining it for 001. What is the deal with is it the Righteous? The Excelsior that's wearing jumpsuits.
Yeah, so that is a fan work, like you said. It's some web series from years ago that someone did. Obviously invested a lot of money in it. Like they did, the set looks pretty good, honestly, for a fan set.
Absolutely.
I've never watched it. I don't know much about it. But it's one of those fan works that a lot of people, you know, liked because of the amount of effort they put into it. And so they have a whole thing where it's part of Battle of Wolf 359 as its origin story, and then gets flashed away by Q and all this other stuff.
Yeah, some real memory beta.
Yeah. A little too deep, right? Like a little too much.
Too much. Way too much.
I appreciate that someone cared enough to like make sure it was mentioned and used in this, because we're trying to do everything. In particular, as much as I will not, you know, cause us to return to our grievances with Voyager's use of the Borg, the Klingons, and solving for why the Klingons are in the Gamma or in the Delta Quadrant as Borg, and the fact there is a line from Hansen that said that they were going to show up, so you had cover. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then having them show up and actually kind of make a difference, like really like press them. because they're more warlike. They're ready to fight.
I watched the first one and I was like, all right, well, what's really there to do in the second one? And by splitting the fleet and having the remnant of the Starfleet, and when the fucking Klingons showed up, I was not expecting that at all. I completely forgot about it. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, here we go. All
Let's
right,
go.
guys, today is a good day to die. Let's.
Hey, I heard you guys are fighting a desperate battle where you might die against a superior foe. Fortunately, I get hard for that. Here we are. Like, this is our favorite thing.
Oh, look, the Stargate has opened to Stovacor. Please, by all means, help yourself.
So it allows you to. At first, I forgot about the line from Hansen that they were showing up. So that actually does explain them what. And then do they have the sphere thing, right? Like, how do these guys get to the Delta Quadrant? We had brought it up when we were talking about Voyager of how do you have survivors from Wolf 359 in the Borg? How is that possible? Because the cube rolls through the fleet, goes to Earth, gets blown up. There's nothing to be saved. Everyone's dead. Well, let's solve for that, right? Let's build a continuity moment where the cube actually got pressed, right? It got damaged because the Klingons showed up and added the kind of firepower that they could add. So we're still going forward with the plan, but we gotta consolidate what we've got. So we're gonna take the sphere back. The Queen's gonna leave, and we're gonna take the Melbourne Excelsior class Melbourne and this Klingon ship is going to solve for these Federation and Klingon people that we're going to meet later on.
Was it the Melbourne or was it the Roosevelt?
The Roosevelt. Sorry, you're right. The Melbourne was the continuity. There were two ships named that, but the Roosevelt and this Klingon cruiser, and we're going to take them back to the Delta Quadrant with us. And there you go. Now you've got all the stuff from Unimatrix Zero and the Borg Cooperative and all of that solved for.
Did he write that, or was that
he wrote that
from elsewhere?
He came up with that. Like, here's how I solve for this.
I think that's solid, man.
It is.
And again, I don't like the Queen, but
it solves its continuity porn in the best way. It solves the problem.
And I like that it reinforces that you don't need 600 Borg cubes flying around on screen like Scorpion. One cube is enough to have the Queen on and go wreck an entire
there
Federation.
Should be hundreds of cubes. That's just it. Like, the Borg should be, like one cube shows up and that's a big deal and it annihilates your civilization.
How many cubes do you think there should be in the entire Borg collective? Like 10?
Maybe 20. In the whole galaxy.
I agree with that. And yeah, one should be enough to take out not only the Federation, but also the Borg. So great job writing in where these two ships came from out in the quadrant. And I think that does match it great. Like, okay, well, we don't like the numbers we're seeing here, even if we're only down 11% or whatever. Let's err on the side of caution. Let's jettison the Queen, transwarp these things out of here. I love the assimilation effects that they used on the Roosevelt and the Klingon ship because it looked straight up like Armada.
Yep.
When the Borg would assimilate stuff. Hansen's choice to go with 80s ninja, 70s, 80s ninja attack tactics of take these 3 piece of shit ships over here, throw them at that. Okay, now take these ones, and it's a slow drain of resources as the cube just hammers everything. I guess the explanation there should be the way that these ships are dynamically flying around. If you had everybody going at the same time, they're going to get in each other's way.
Their firing solutions are going to be jammed. Yeah, like you have to give them space to operate, or they're not going to be able to shoot anything. Great effects with the hammering of the phasers and the torpedoes, like really making it look like they're pouring it on, right? Like they're giving it everything they got, both in part 1 and part 2. Like they're just all this firepower is being forced onto this cube and it's just not doing much, right? Like it feels like it should matter and it just doesn't, and it adds to the dread of everything that's happening.
I love the sloppy tactics because anybody who's watching this has played enough video games, and at this point we've got WoW raids and everything under our belt, and we know about the importance of communication and focus fire, and there's an absolute lack of that until the Roosevelt IDs some part, and they're like, okay, this is where we need to attack. Everybody point there. But like you would think that they would just be using a unified target anyways, because some Miranda's phaser banks aren't going to do shit to whatever random spot they're shooting at.
And it's because they're rusty. They haven't had to fight something like this in a long time. There's no war college anymore in the Federation. Like there's no Starfleet tactics school. Like this is part of their problem.
If I could have gone for anything uh, in this, and I get why he didn't, I could have gone for people sitting in like, wave 3 or whatever, just fucking sweating balls and watching everybody dying. And like, I'm not looking for moments of cowardice, but like really letting that sink in that everybody here knows exactly what's going on. And everybody here has that vested interest in, we got to stop this thing before it gets back to Earth. You could have also maybe told some interesting stories, like the alien parts of Starfleet are like, I don't fuck Earth. Like,
the local Andorians looking around like, fuck this.
And nobody wants to see a story about deserters or whatever, but
I think it's good that the Federation remains ultimately extremely heroic. I think that's
absolutely,
if the Federation's good at anything, it's dying spectacularly, right? Like how'd the Enterprise C go down? Right? Fought a bunch of Romulans and died, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't succeed. But the what I want to link this to is the Battle of Sector 001 as well, because I think like this also creates continuity for that. The evolution that Starfleet takes on from this point to that point is quite dramatic in one very specific sense. This is a slaughter. The Battle of Sector 001 is a real fight. It is a run and gun fight all the way to the line. Like, yeah, the Enterprise shows up at the end in this dramatic fashion to close it out, but the Starfleet Armada that intercepted the second cube did not get wiped out. It was still in the mix, and it had done, as Data says, significant damage to the cube by the time Enterprise showed up. Right? It was a close run thing. It was close to breaking. It was almost going to go poorly. But in that 6-year gap between now and then, Starfleet got their act together and they built weapons and ships that were able to stand up against the Borg and give it a serious fight. Even without Picard's intervention at the end. And I feel like the dramatic change from this, what happened to Wolf 359 to there, tells a story all on its own.
I won't say the lack of fear in the crew, but like not an eagerness in the crew. Because I watched that part of First Contact because it's always been a badass scene, and certainly it takes a different context. But like everybody's expecting it, and like there's not an open fear. There's like, fuck, we're gonna do this now. Like, all right, get these ships out there. Yeah, I like seeing the Defiant get to put some hurt on the cube, since that's what it's originally designed for, is anti-Borg and whatever it's gonna become through the Dominion War. But like, all right, little ship here, this is what you're made for. Get going. Picard's stress through the Battle of Wolf 359, specifically the tears he does shed when they take out Hansen. And at first I was like, is he crying because, he just took out the Star Drive on a Galaxy class and like that's what's really hitting home for him? And then I realized on the rewatch of Best of Both Worlds that him and Hansen are personal friends.
Yeah. His speech about him in that episode, and then watching the episode itself, fantastic, right? Like you do get a real super serious sense of exactly how much they're friends from when he says he's not helping them. I know what kind of man he is. He's a casualty of war. It is a tragedy, but spare no thought to the idea that he is doing what he is doing because he is quote unquote helping them.
And he's dead. And he is the first person to realize that they need to move past any sort of perceived loyalty to Picard and push in hard on it. They did such a good job creating Hansen as a character, and the little bit of personal time he gets with Jean-Luc Picard to flesh him out, that like, I think it really adds gasoline to the Riker subplot in that. And like watching Picard not turn on Riker, but get real with him and give him take Hansen's advice to heart and kick him in the ass and be like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, what are you doing? And like the great punch too, as Enterprise shows up to the graveyard left behind, it's like, there's the Melbourne, and the zoom in on Frakes' face is like, fuck, man, that should be me dead right now. And like, by this crazy twist of fate and for everything else, I'm alive, they're all dead, and this is happening in a way that, like, where's his guilt? I don't
know if it's guilt that he would feel. I think at that point, like, there's no guilt to feel, right? Like I haven't even made a choice yet. As the preludes say, like the ship got forced into service before its testing was done
Mm-hmm.
to try and like solve for that continuity issue, and that's why it was there. I agree. Obviously, like Picard, like putting pressure on him to say like you need to rethink your decision, like and telling almost ordering him to like leave, and even saying like we'll do okay without you. You know that, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Like, obviously we like working together, but you're not as important as you think you are to this. You should take your skills and use them for another crew. Like we can't concentrate everyone that's cool right here. And even like Shelby says that, like you're standing in you're too afraid. You're standing in the shadow of a great man.
And
You're
you're in
too,
my way. You're hurting other people's careers by
yeah,
not letting us get experience on the flagship as well.
yeah. Some of us want to work with Jean-Luc Picard too. You know, like, come on.
Uh, I it would have been, I think, interesting at some point for Riker to kind of address, because everybody has to come out of this thing with trauma. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
the Enterprise doesn't really get fucked. Picard certainly got a lot of trauma, but I think that would have been a really cool thing for Riker to have to think about every now and then. Is like, I was playing it safe, and I should have been on the Melbourne realistically. And how does that make me feel with survivor's guilt on this stuff? The resources that Starfleet loses, 40 ships, it's a big deal. Their whole ass is hanging out at this point, and I don't know if they ever explain why Romulans or whoever don't move in and take them while they're down and kick them while they're down, especially the Cardassians and some of this other stuff.
Well, I mean
But
that comes up in the Wounded though. I mean in the Wounded, uh, you know, th- keep in mind that's probably what a half season after this, right? It's
mhm.
not particularly long after, and the admiral had assigned Picard to try and like cool this shit down with the Cardassians. Looks him dead in the eye and says, "I don't think I need to remind you why we can't afford a fucking conflict with the Cardassians right now, Captain." You
Captain
know, like
John Locutus Picard. Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
Luke Picard.
yeah, like, hey, bud, we were desperate enough to actually send your ass back out there because we don't have another fucking choice right now. Really, like by all standards, Jean-Luc Picard should not be the commanding the Enterprise after this incident. Even if everyone holds him blameless, even if everyone says obviously you were forced into this, but he's so compromised morally and personally by this that it's crazy that they do so. But at the same time, very understandable because what else fucking choice did they have? He's the best they got. The ship is still relatively undamaged. Yeah, I guess get out there because right now we're still fucking picking up the pieces of the things you broke.
But the other part of what's broken here is the amount of personnel you've lost. That's what, 11,000 you said?
11,000 Starfleet officers dead.
The idea that Riker stays on the Enterprise after this is bonkers. I mean, you're going to have to build new ships, and you need people who are ready to staff it. Like, Enterprise should have been ransacked for personnel to
Yeah,
go out and
all their
start.
senior officers should have been commanding officers or first officers of all of these new ships. Absolutely. Like Geordi, Data,
Worf.
Riker, Worf, even. Like maybe Worf sticks around because he's like relatively junior. He's just a lieutenant. Maybe he gets promoted, to lieutenant
Absolutely.
commander a little early in his second officer now or something.
Shelby should have been a captain. Like, and obviously you're not because it's a TV show about these people. But I think if it was a book or if it was something else, like that's how the Enterprise story ends: is the crew just off becoming the new command structure across the fleet. Um, the uh, the Carnage all looks at Hanson's ship. What is it? The Galaxy.
Yeah, the Galaxy class ship that he command because he's on an Excelsior ship as his uh, command craft at first.
Mm-hmm.
I am finding it's in the prelude. It is the USS Aruga,
Aruga.
Auriga, NCC 171797.
Again, cursed line, man. Like these
Yeah,
things. Now you've got, well, that we have seen at least. The Yamato went down. This thing, the Galaxy's going to get it in. Or no, the Odyssey gets it in Deep Space Nine. Like huge representation of resources lost, and like losing the constellations, losing the Mirandas, losing the Excelsiors, whatever. Like having nebulas and a galaxy wiped out. Oof. And it makes
so
sense. There's only two Galaxy classes at Wolf 359. These are supposed to be deep space exploratory vessels. Like You're
Right.
not going to be able to recall the entire fleet. Do we know how big the fleet was in Starfleet at this point? Like, they lost 40 ships here. Is there any talk in the preludes about like how many ships there are fleet wide?
So they don't do too much as it relates to what percentage of the ships in Starfleet this represents. It really only starts getting discussed in Deep Space Nine, to be honest with you, in any more sort of specificity when you start talking about fleet actions that contain thousands of vessels. Um, at the time of this, I think the implication is that this is a major loss. It's a decimation. So I would say that's 10%. So I think it would be fair to say that maybe the size of Starfleet at this point it's like in the 500 to 600 ship range.
We've talked about how expansive Federation space is, and even what the presence of one starship in a star system means. Like, you have to spread super thin, especially
Yeah.
during this point of peaceful existence. Um, TOS, I don't remember ever really being heavy on info about Starfleet as an organization and logistics.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, it's actually, I think, more notable that in TOS there's far fewer capable starships able to fight. Like the Constitution class ship is something special because of its capabilities in that regard. And it's only into the TNG era where things get a little bit more complicated.
this marked the first time I remember where you get a real view of Starfleet as a spacefaring organization on screen. It was the most ships you ever saw. Um, and, you know, Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek was telling stories about people and they were in space, sure, but it wasn't a space military story.
Right.
And this really starts, I think, ushering in Starfleet as an organization, as an on-screen presence. What we get out of Deep Space Nine, again, by people who grew up watching this stuff, are like, wow, this is really cool. Look at all these different types of starships. Look at all these different captains. Look at all these different styles out there. We want to do more with that. And they've already started leaning into it in Deep Space Nine, and I'm sure it's just going to ramp up crazier. But it's like this was the first episode where the writers' room was like, okay, let's go in this direction for 5 minutes and see how it feels. And let's reset the entire Starfleet apparatus by wiping all these old pieces off the board.
Yeah.
What
So
the
it's
hell
hard to
was
say like what percentage of Starfleet this represented. Like you said, the size and scale of the Federation means like even if you had thousands of ships in this era, you wouldn't be able necessarily to assemble very many of them, given the ability to travel quickly.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's significant enough that 6 months later in continuity, they're telling Jean-Luc Picard, you have to make peace with the card. You have to keep peace with the Cardassians because we can't afford conflict. So presume 40 is a significant percentage of their force at the time.
absolutely. What the hell is a Sulaco? Transport that shows up seemingly looking for Shaw?
No, it's a transport that's supposed to. It was supposed to meet another vessel, and then I think maybe it was Shaw's ship, and then it didn't show up, and so it went to try and find it because it thought it needed assistance, and just kind of like, whoops, we're somewhere we're not supposed to be. Oops, we're dead.
I loved that there was like a engagement theater warning of like, this is a
Don't come
no-fly
here.
zone.
Yeah, and
Don't
they
do
just
this, because
ignored it. Yeah.
Sulaco, like, who's gonna pick the aliens colonial marine fucking ship
What ship
name?
are you on, guys? Well, uh
And it's funny too, because the Sulaco in aliens lore was considered to be a cursed vessel because of a string of bad accidents that happened on it. So it's just a bad name to have on any ship. And do not pick the name Sulaco unless you were ready for everybody to die. But yeah, they were tied into Shaw somehow, because like they were showing his face during the part two, them popping and just getting fucking hammered. Um, Part two again looked visually way more refined. It's at the Endeavor, it becomes the backup ship once Hansen goes down, and they put up a much better fight than the Hansen portion did.
they have
And they do that.
tactics. Yeah,
Yeah,
they have ideas.
they very 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 let's call it non-traditional ideas, as they blind the cube with their polyamorous flashes.
I'm not sure if that's how it was pronounced, but yeah,
I
they
think it
basically use
was.
flash grenades. Yeah.
they start talking about polyamory, and the Borg are like, "Whoa,
Hold
what's
on. We don't sure we want to bring this into the collective. You're
your
now like the
polycule
Kazon.
is
Maybe
irrelevant.
you could go away like the Kazon now. We're not interested in you.
We are leaving now."
We don't want your syphilis. Begone thoughts. We need not know more e-girls within the collective. We already have 7 of 9.
Yeah, they sure do. When the Klingons do show up, that was amazing. I thought they handled all that really well, and it was cool to see. Like, okay, what happens if Starfleet is an organization built around battle, and if there are people who obsess over space fights? Well, here they are, and let's watch what happens. And it's significantly better than that first encounter that Hansen supervised. It's a shame this is all kind of a footnote and a fan work. And yeah, Hansen talks about the potential of Klingons arriving, and they do pick up on it in Voyager. But I mean, what a fucking bro move for the Klingons to show up in force like that,
Yeah.
and just throw
all
all
the
their
fuck
shit
down. Like, leave nothing on the table.
There's no, all right, this isn't going to happen. Like, leave, like, everybody there dies gladly. And that is payback for the sea, right? Rachel Garrett.
That is correct. Yeah, that is them paying it back. I think that's a fair way to put it. You showed up and died for us. Your flagship died for us. Like, not just any ship. The literal representation of the Federation's might rolled up and tried out of Federation space to try and defend Klingon citizens because they needed help. And you showed up, you rolled up, and you died for it. So what? How else can our warrior culture respond except to do the same thing for you?
If anything's left on the table here, it's that the writers never got a chance to play that up and talk about the benefit to the Klingon Federation alliance. I don't know. I mean, do they touch any of that stuff in Deep Space Nine? I know Klingons are going to be a big part of this specifically, though. I mean, do they ever talk about the Borg incident?
No, to be honest, because again, this is an invention of this guy, right? Like, canon at the time didn't really reflect Klingon participation in this way. This is somebody after the fact finding the gaps to fill. So obviously, Deep Space Nine doesn't really lean into the Klingon presence in Battle for 359. But there's definitely a lot of content about the Klingon Federation alliance.
Sure,
we definitely go deep on it, and I think what they do, and again, credit to JTVFX in his delicate construction of this, the story arc that takes in Deep Space Nine, and what layer of interpretation we put on it, still works within that story once it's told, and you'll see that for yourself.
The shuttlecraft stuff.
And they're showing that these guys have, like, heroic sacrifices is something the Federation's good at, right? I think that's the intention.
But at the same time, I led to believe. So there's a whole battle. They're not doing shit. And then a Type 6 and I think a Type 8 flying past the shields, and they're just taking out, 3 or 4 tractor beams. No big deal. Like, okay, well, maybe just this footage is lost forever and the Federation never figures out that the way to actually take down cubes is with X-Wings.
Gotta find the thermal exhaust port. That's all they needed to do the whole time.
Forget it. You don't need a sovereign class. You need carriers, and just swarm them with which I think they end up making fighter craft, don't they? Like personal fighters.
Yeah, it's something they play with more in the video games. You don't really see too much of it in the show. They get mentioned. I will say they get mentioned. It's a tough concept to do, I think, when you've really based it around these big iconic starships, exchanging like capital. Like, Star Trek space battles are supposed to be more like actual naval battles in a way, like the Battle of Trafalgar style, like gun lines, big ships of the line. Like,
hey man, we did a whole movie about it, and that was Wrath of Khan.
And Horatio Hornblower in space. And I will say, unfortunately, like, even when it's peak, say First Contact and Sacrifice of Angels and Deep Space Nine, Trek isn't super great at showing it on screen the way that I think they would like to. It's hard to do it. I honestly think maybe the best representation of Starfleet style, of Star Trek style space combat, is fucking Nemesis. Like the end of Nemesis in the Nebula, when it's the E and those warbirds versus the scimitar.
Mhm.
a lot of positioning and a lot of like, hey, we're going to try and like, you know, shoot all of our phasers around and, you know, trace shield impacts to try and find you. And, you know, like all of that's actually pretty well done in that movie. It's the only thing I think is well done in that movie. Otherwise, like, unfortunately, like a lot of the Star Trek space battle stuff exists in video games, books, and then honestly stuff like this, fan works that try to fill in the gaps that the show was never able really to, or even the movies was able to manifest particularly well.
I love the momentum he shows in the battles as things are getting blown up. They continue on their trajectory and like just spinning out of control as they blow up more. There was one shot I really liked, and it's while Cisco's trying to pull Jennifer out of the debris, and there is a exposed bulkhead behind him, and he like overlays his CG battle in there.
Yes, very
And I
cool, very
thought
slick.
that, yeah, the whole thing's great. Uh, I loved it. I think it does, again, just all the favors in the world to establishing the singular threat the Borg represent and why we don't need any of the other morgue treatment that Voyager gave it. I love when the escape boats are pulled in and surrounded by drones. Also, to jump back to Best of Both Worlds, like they got Borg right off the bat. The fucking pajamas and shit they end up using in Voyager look so bad. Just put these guys in black surf bodysuits wrapped in hose and telephone cord and, you know, some shit on their face, and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, it's nasty. It looks alien. It looks like a bad time. That's really all it needs to be, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But is excellent watch, wonderful piece of fan film continuity porn, excellently produced and executed on. The work of someone who's passionate about Star Trek, and I think that's something you and I absolutely can identify with, and everyone in the sound of our voice can probably identify with too. So if for some reason you have not indulged in the 45 minutes or so that it will take to watch all of the Wolf 359 content on JTVFX's YouTube channel, go do that. It's worth your time. He has other stuff up on his channel that are kind of like effects upgrades or shots or things that he's done to, you know, practice his craft over the years. You know, this is like, for example, you know, different warp effects from different Star Trek episodes, the intro from Starfleet Academy 25th anniversary edition, some of the displays from some of the TOS era stuff. You know, he's got a real passion for trying to do effects styling in the Star Trek universe, and this is definitely his magnum opus. So check it out. And thanks for listening to V'ger Please. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon so we can do these extra episodes. We'll see you for the next one.